everybody? Welcome back to Tooth and Claw
Hey,
Podcast.
Jeff.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Wes. We have our news episode this episode, and we have our bear biologist, who is once named top 10 hottest bear biologists in the United States, Wes Larson.
I don't remember that.
I didn't give you my vote, but
I am happy about it.
And we
I
have
voted
Mike
Tom.
Smith, who eats ass.
hey,
All right.
finally you
And
got
I'm
you
Jeff Larson.
described me
I
accurately.
finally got one right.
Top 10 ass eaters in the United States.
He was voted
I'll
top
take it.
10.
Hey guys, you guys feeling okay?
You know what? I'm feeling a little bit sick, but
Yeah.
I'm feeling better than I did yesterday.
That's
So
shocking
that's pretty good.
because you look great, actually. You would never be able to guess.
We just got back from
yeah.
2 weeks in India, and Mike and Jeff were feeling pretty sick on the way home, doing a lot of coughing.
Well,
Yep,
you
like
guys,
that Pokemon.
Yeah.
for people who aren't geologists, what the maps?
Geographers.
People who don't know maps.
Yeah, cartographers.
Cartographer.
India has the Himalayas in it, and we
Sure
were
does.
in the Himalayas. And that
Yeah.
was pretty high up. And my lungs are kind of like, dude, you just found out you have asthma and now you're going to Himalayas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got up to 15,000 feet on this trip, which is pretty high. And we are camping at 13,000 feet, which is also pretty high to camp at. So,
And a bad idea, in my opinion.
yeah, we're going to get to that. We definitely, our categories are almost all about India and kind of our experiences there, all of the trip. So we're going to get to a lot of those details, but it was an amazing trip, in my opinion. Probably, I mean, wildlife wise, I think it's the greatest trip we've done so far.
Well, the spoiler.
Just going to say it. I'm just going to say it.
You're spoiling.
I'm spoiling. We'll wait.
We'll bleep that part.
Yeah,
out.
bleep it. Anyway, we're all back at home now, and we're excited to talk about the news. Right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. We've been building it up.
Yeah, I can hardly
I personally
hold it anymore.
have a story that I thought was really a good story.
Okay, I'm excited for it.
Great.
which
Mike,
is, like,
do you
crazy.
personally have a
I mean,
story?
I normally have
Yeah.
bad ones.
We've been waiting 4 years for that.
We're not just hearing headlines.
Well, you get some headlines, but
All right, well, should we start it out?
Hopefully it takes place in the past couple of weeks. 'cause-
Yes,
I can't laugh.
Not a year ago.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
No
then
jokes.
Don't laugh. No more jokes. This
No
is
more
going to be a
jokes.
serious
like
episode.
if you shot me in the chest and you made me laugh, that's
Right.
what you're doing right now.
It's tough
Oh,
because animal
wow.
attacks are usually really funny.
Super funny. No, but we should start it out on a serious note. Well, if we don't want to laugh, we might as well start with something that's not
You
very
got it.
funny.
Yeah, suck it out of us
So
like a dementor.
pretty much right around when we left for India, I think like a lot of people in our country right now, we are being bombarded by news. And a lot of that news was stuff that seemed pretty concerning to us. And one of the things that happened was we were reading the Trump administration was cutting a lot of funding from a lot of the agencies that protect our wild spaces, our public lands. A lot of my friends personally lost their jobs, like bear management specialists, forest service workers, people that deal with like grant writing for different wild initiatives. And it made us pretty upset, all three of us, I think. It's hard to be on a podcast where you talk about conservation and appreciating wild spaces and all these things. And then in just a matter of weeks, seeing a lot of that rug kind of being pulled out from under your feet. And for me, like personally, the hardest part of it is seeing it being done by a billionaire who, billionaires famously don't care much about other people. They mostly care about their bottom line. And it's hard to see a thing that's bipartisan in our country, wild spaces, public lands, being treated as if it's like a profit loss kind of scenario. Yeah, and so we just kind of want to say that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I was gonna actually do like a listener advice at the end about that, but I feel like
okay.
it'd be repetitive now.
Yeah.
But I want to
Sorry.
shout the person out. Well, yeah, I think we had our wires crossed a bit.
It's
there,
all right.
because that's what
We
I
might
was
as well
trying
just
to tell you.
We'll
is-
combine them. Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Daphne, just saying that she's like trying to get in the field of science, but is pretty discouraged by the Trump administration and wants to ask Wes how to remain hopeful as someone who's trying to get into a science and conservation related field, which I feel like a lot of listeners probably have that same question.
Yeah. And like we definitely got a lot of questions about it and how it was affecting me. And I'm lucky that I'm pretty insulated from it right now. I'm not currently working at Yellowstone. The podcast is
What are you doing?
The podcast is pretty much a full-time gig for all
Mowing
three
lawns.
of us at this point.
Oh man, we get that
Yeah.
question a lot. Is this what you guys do full time?
Yeah, I guide and
I'm always
stuff
like,
too.
I do, but Wes, no, he's like a
Dior model.
wildlife. Yeah,
I'm not
Yeah.
a Dior model.
I mean, technically, you are.
I was, and now I also do a bit of biology. I'm still working with some nonprofits on some papers. But yeah, our hearts go out to people that are feeling that kind of uncertainty. It's not fair, especially like
People
the
that
national.
lost their jobs.
Yeah, the national parks. For every dollar that goes into the national parks, they produce $15. Like, this is a profitable part of our country, and it seems a strange place to do a lot of these cuts. For me, it's
Is
like
that
we
from,
have.
like, all their oil reserves, and
It's not from their oil reserves. It's from tourism and conservation. Tourism can lead to conservation. So it seems weird that we have, for me, the military industrial complex that sucks up billions and trillions of dollars. And they're targeting these kind of things that both people on both sides of the aisle love these places. It's not just left-leaning people. It's not just right-leaning people. Like, we all love our national parks. So this seems silly to me. It seems counterproductive. It seems like billionaire logic.
Yeah, for me, I know I try to stay maybe a little more agnostic than you two as far as political stuff is concerned. I just try, and it's to my discredit, I think. I just think it's a shame because there's so much historical precedent that these kinds of people are actually really important, that we need to have people that are considering the environment and nature and animals like that be at the forefront of their minds. And we have people that know what kind of disaster can ensue if we let those things fall by the wayside. I know I've brought it up a few times. It's getting a little weird how often it's coming up these days, but China's Great Leap Forward, it was kind of in large part caused by an ignorant decision regarding nature. And I know we have experience to learn from, but I don't know. It's just something that I think is more important than a lot of people might give it credit for. So that's
Yeah.
I
my
think
2
everything's
cents.
connected.
Yeah, it's a huge conspiracy.
Yeah, and for me, like the thing that feels kind of gross to me and a little crass is how much we talk about this from like an economic standpoint. And some of these things have value that goes far. Like, it transcends money. When you're in the desert Southwest alone, in Red Rock Canyons, or you're like high in the Northern Rockies at an alpine lake, that's stuff that is invaluable. It's stuff that shouldn't be treated as a profit and loss. It's stuff that makes America like what it is, in my opinion. So it feels very tragic to me, and I think there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to deal with for a while. And
Yeah.
hopefully people rally and do what they can. And I think it's easy to feel helpless, but we do care about those things, and we wanted to make that known.
Well said, Wes. Clap.
All right.
All right.
Well, and Jeff,
Jeff.
me and Jeff talked about this a little bit, and he really, I think, feels very passionately about it as well. So,
All right. Never mind.
Yeah.
Credit goes to Jeff, like always.
No, I don't know. I think it's good to question everything. I think it's good to question like all your political leaders and anyone who has control over your decisions. But I think I've talked to a lot of friends and people who like question climate change too, and it's just like, listen, if you think the world is more polluted and like less forested than it was 200 years ago, you believe in climate change. You just don't like the narrative around it, because that's all it is. We're polluting the earth, But anyways, enough of that. Hopefully we changed everyone's mind.
Yeah,
And-
serious. Elon's out there listening to this, and he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I am an asshole.
I mean, they listen to a lot of content, so they might be.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyways, we got
All right.
some stories for you to bum you out even more. So
Yeah. I got one that's tragic, but also pretty funny. So should we
All right.
start with
All right.
that?
Yeah.
All right. I call this one Teen TikTok Tragedy.
Mm.
And this is about Davi Nunes Moreira, a Brazilian. He's 14 years old, who recently died in a hospital in Planalto, Brazil, which is in the state
That is funny.
the state of Bahia. That's not funny. That's the
Sorry.
tragic part.
That's a really irreverent joke. I won't make that one again.
There's a lot of animals in Brazil that could potentially kill you. You got lots of venomous snakes. You got some spiders that can even kill you. You've got jaguars. You've got a lot of things there. Sharks.
gorillas.
no gorillas. But there are some dangerous things in Brazil, and this teen was killed by a butterfly, which seems a little crazy. So what happened?
How big was it?
Mothra?
When it killed him, it was very, very, very small.
Butterfly.
So in mid-February, this kid went to his dad and said that he was vomiting, he was struggling to walk, he was getting really sick, and his dad took him to the hospital. And on the way, he told his dad that what had happened is that he had injected a solution made of crushed butterfly into his leg. And obviously the dad was like, "Oh, why did you do that?" And he said it was part of an online challenge, and that's why he did it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
That's
unfortunately, he spent a week in the hospital. He was in intense pain the entire time he was there. And then he did end up passing after a week of receiving really, critical care.
Like he got butterfly in his bloodstream or something?
So there's a few things that could have happened. It could have been an embolism, which is when you have some sort of foreign object in your bloodstream. Like that can be a blood clot. It can be air. It can be anything, really. It can be a crushed up butterfly. It's not the vaccine. It could be an infection that killed him. Like he could have had like a septic reaction to these butterfly bits, or like even like a toxic reaction to them.
Bad needle.
Yeah, an allergic reaction. Yeah, maybe the needle was bad. Who knows? But something killed him. They're not really sure like how crushed up this butterfly was, but he died from it.
So
it
wait,
also,
people on TikTok are doing that?
Yeah. So that's the part. I was like, okay, I got to find out what this trend is. And every single article that reported on this said it was because of this viral online trend. I kind of think that's just what he told his dad to like not seem so stupid,
Yeah.
because there's no
He's
trend.
Just being a dumb kid.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no trend of like injecting butterflies into yourself. The thing I could find that was the closest was people painting butterflies on themselves or something. But
Yeah.
I think the trend is just like doing stupid shit on TikTok to try and get a bunch of views. Like that's the trend.
It's just crazy too that I'm more surprised that there wasn't a trend of that.
Yeah.
You know, like I
Fair
thought
enough.
like, oh yeah, there's probably a trend. That's if he said that, there's probably a trend, you know?
Yeah. And I think pretty much, Jeff, all the news outlets believed it too. And they were just like, yeah, this is a trend. Because I think that's kind of like the shark attacks in the summer and stuff. That's something they love to report on, is saying like, oh, all the kids are doing this. It's like satanic panic in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, the
But-
kids nowadays are good at trolling too. I
Yeah.
feel like the Tide Pod trend, like
Right. Was
most
never
kids
actually
knew
a trend.
like not to do that, but they're acting
Yeah.
like they're doing it. But then a few kids did it and got really
For sure.
Good.
And those
But that's
kids,
kind of funny too.
those kids are probably going either way.
Yeah.
They're not long for this world.
I think Gronk might have done it. Gronk.
Yeah. Maybe baby Gronk. Who knows? There are certain butterflies, like monarchs, for example, that do feed on toxic plants. Monarchs will feed on milkweed, and that can make them slightly toxic. But I would have to assume that you'd have to consume a really large amount of monarch butterflies to actually get sick from them. And then to die, it has to be like the embolism or an allergic reaction or something. It
Well, I
couldn't
mean,
be just
consuming
toxic.
different than injection.
Than
too.
injection. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That is true. This is a very different means of transport, but
Like,
I
what-
still don't think it would be
We're,
enough.
we're definitely still gathering data on the injecting butterfly
Yeah.
science.
The nice thing is this kid did answer that question for us, Like
I mean,
now we know.
one result. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
there's
that's
still
not a
some
big data pool.
variance.
Kids-
we need to test it.
No, I don't think you need to test this one anymore. I think enough data has been
I think I
gathered.
could survive it.
All right. I don't want you to try, but
Okay.
I'm also, one thing we proved, Jeff, is I'm not good at stopping you from doing things. So
This episode's brought to you by Mint Mobile. I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping my money too. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up from crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks that actually cost more in the long run, and switched to Mint Mobile. True story. I made the switch back in 2017. It was so cheap. It was just as reliable as any other carrier I had ever tried. And I was like, where is the downside? And that's just the thing. There isn't any. So say bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/tooth. That's mintmobile.com/tooth. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, that's my first story. What do you guys got?
Mike, you go.
I want to go, Jeff. Thanks for passing it to me. So this is, we got a little fish on fish crime in this one. Kind of. I have
Mermaid?
a little bit of I have a Russian theme going on in both my stories today. But yes, this first one does involve a mermaid, Jeff. You're right. So
I knew it.
for the 10 months leading up to when the story took place, 22-year-old Maria Zelenina, she's the main character of this story. She went by a stage name Masha. She was having a great time just working as a mermaid. She's not a real mermaid, just to clear that up. She was in an aquatic show that was put on the Primitive Forest Park in Xishuangbanna, China. Well, her workplace morale was about to take a little bit of a hit on Tuesday, January 28th of this year, when during a solo performance, she was gracefully doing a little solo dance under the water. She was in the tank with a bunch of these aquatic animals at this aquatic park, which is great. I just love this image. And there's videos, but
I'm already cracking up that you named this fish on fish crime.
what, you don't think mermaids are fish? Anyway, so yeah, she was doing a solo performance under the water, and she is, in my opinion, she's very gracefully moving through the water. And as mammals are wont to do, she is heading up to the surface to catch a bit of a breath before going back under, continuing their...
We do love breathing, don't we?
Mermaids, not so much.
Yeah, but like I said, she's not a real mermaid. I think.
She's a fish.
Right. So when she was just inches away from the surface of the water, there was a huge Chinese sturgeon just swimming gently, slowly overhead, when all of a sudden it took issue with her being down in the tank with it. And I actually have a couple of pictures I want to share real quick.
I saw the video. It's crazy.
It's great. So I'll share this one first.
Big is this sturgeon? Holy, that looks like a shark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're
massive.
like shark-sized. Yeah.
So just a little bit about Chinese sturgeon for people who are uninformed. They're critically endangered, which is sad. It doesn't excuse this one's behavior. I'll just say that.
I think it does.
They can grow to be up to 16 feet long.
Wow.
And thankfully, in this case, they actually don't have teeth, but they're so big that their jaws, they're strong enough to like exert a huge amount of pressure. So it actually chomped down on her head. And this is the second picture. It's pretty amazing. It's like the whole head is in this fish's mouth. Yeah. So
that's like Kirby.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna have mermaid powers after this and be able to blow bubble rings or something. So in this, like, keep in mind, this is before she actually reached the surface to take a breath. So she's like struggling to get it free and get some air.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, with a fish mouth over your entire head, its mouth actually ripped the goggles off of her face. And it left a pretty good scuff mark under her left eye and bruises all over her face. And in the video, you can hear the crowd. They do almost like the most stereotypical gasp of like shock and horror that you can imagine. Just like imagine like the shocked crowd sound. That's what it sounds like. A lot of children in the crowd.
China, you said?
In China, yes.
So I'm imagining like a lot of photos taken, a lot of cameras out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So she was rushed to the hospital immediately. She said she doesn't hold it against her employers. I saw a lot of like weirdly conflicting reports about how she was told to like keep it hushed if she could, and they try to pay her off, but also reports and direct quotes from her, refuting all of these claims. It's a kind of a weird fallout of this story. It seems like her employers treated her very well, and she actually really enjoys working there. And she's going to get back in the water as soon as she's able. And I liked her quote at the end of the story and all the articles I read. I guess I should have said this. I first found this in USA Today, but it's a million different places. You can find kind of the same story. She's dealing with it with like a really good sense of humor. She's saying you can't take these kinds of things too seriously. Maybe it's a little embarrassing, but it's kind of funny at the end of the day. So just be cool about it. And I don't know. I ended up liking Masha a lot.
It's a good story to tell.
Yeah.
It's a great video.
Fish on fish
it's
crime.
not like something you'd expect from a sturgeon too.
No.
Pretty slow moving fish. Not that interested in anything. Man, I watched this. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I watched this documentary series on Netflix. I feel like it was just like 3 or 4 parts. And it was all about mermaids in mostly Florida and how like competitive it is and how it's like a whole subculture that's not sexual. It can be sexual, but it's like this is something that people devote their lives to, being mermaids and mermaiding and like going, I don't know. It's crazy. It was a great documentary. I really liked it.
What does it mean to mermaid?
Like you travel, you go to parties, you like work in aquariums or bars or whatever else.
If it's on dry land, do you just like flop around?
Kind of, yeah. There's jobs and gigs that are like the holy grail of mermaiding. Yeah, it was a good documentary. I'll try and remember what it was called.
Okay.
It would be cool if she could add this in her act, just every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I'm a businessman, so that's where my head goes.
Yeah. Right. You're just trying to monetize it for her. She probably made some money from the video, I'm guessing.
I wonder.
All right, Mike, shut up. It's my turn.
I'm done. Thought you'd never ask.
Wes.
Mer People is what that documentary is called. Sorry.
What's like your fallback, like go-to thing for our news episodes when you just need a story? What do you type in if you're just like, you know what, I need a... What's your old reliable?
Tiger attack.
What'd you type
Tiger
in?
attack. Tiger attack.
You just type in tiger attack?
Uh-huh.
Maybe India?
Yeah, tiger attack India, sure. It's almost always in India. The last parts.
Well, we were just in India,
redundant.
so I was like, you know what? I'm going to type in tiger attack India. Sure enough, you get a lot of results.
You do.
And they
it's
come
kind
out
of
quick.
sad how many results you get. Yeah.
So we just got back from India, and that's why I had it on the brain. I was just kind of like, you know what? We saw a bunch of tigers. There's a bunch of people living right by them. Wonder what's been going on, So have you heard of Bandhavgarh National Park, Wes?
Yeah.
Bandhavgarh?
That's not how you say it, but I also don't remember exactly how to say it, so I'm not going to correct you. But that's definitely not it.
I mean, there's a lot going on in the name of it.
They're hard names.
Yeah.
I think it's Bandargava or so. I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, in 2022, there were 135 tigers in this park, right? It's about 125 square miles.
Okay.
And they have all that we had in our tiger park that we went to, plus Indian wolves. So they got like leopards, sloth bears. They got a bunch of cool stuff. Some guars.
And to like, just to kind of paint the picture for people, these tiger parks are like national parks. They're not fenced. This isn't like a safari park where it's like,
oh yeah, I'll paint that. Don't worry.
There. Okay,
yeah,
you
Jeff's
got
the Picasso podcast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So
I will hand him his brushes.
Shivam. Well, actually, I'll paint it using you.
Okay.
So
sure.
you're doing the right thing. Just let me get to you, okay?
All right.
Fucking hell.
Avant-garde technique.
Shivam Bargarya in Barhut Village. Okay? So I got something right there. For sure. We're going to just call him Shivam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Painting's taking shape.
Yeah, so he's right out. Pretty much it's this
strokes.
village of like 250 people, like right outside this tiger park. So we were just in, oh man, I keep forgetting the name. Tadoba.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty similar to the park that I'm describing right now.
Yeah.
So Wes,
very similar.
How protected from tigers did the farms we saw seem to you?
Not at all.
Really? So, like, the scarecrows out in the farms, you don't think would scare a tiger?
I don't think they would. No. In fact, the hotel that we were staying at was probably like 5 or 6 miles from the park. And they pretty routinely see tigers and leopards near that hotel.
Yeah.
There's a village that we passed in the buffer area that literally sits against the park. And the only fence I saw was about waist high, which is nothing to a tiger. Like, absolutely nothing.
And
So
we saw, like, farm crops in sections right where we were seeing
right.
tigers.
One of my guides said the night previous there had been a tiger in that village because he lived there and everyone had to like go inside. So not very sheltered.
So that field, that one like big field in the tiger park we went to, how would you feel working in that in the morning?
I would be a little like, I would always be on edge, you know?
You'd be looking around. Mike,
Yeah.
would you be looking around at all?
No, not at all.
You'd
I'm not
just be
afraid.
sitting there.
Yeah, I would. I'd put on one of those masks on the back of my head.
He wouldn't be out in
Well-
the field to begin with.
That's true.
Shivam knew to be looking for tigers because he grew up there. He knew how dangerous they were. They've learned to live alongside tigers, but it's in no means like a situation where they feel safe from tigers. It's
Right.
just something they've adapted to, this is our
Yeah.
life. So he's being cautious all the time. He's got to do it. It's his job. So he's out on the farm. And on February 26th, his heart stops when in the morning he sees a huge Bengal tiger come out of the jungle into his crops that he's working on.
That's bad.
So, pretty scary stuff, huh?
You want
That
your
is
heart
scary.
to still be going in that scenario.
Yeah.
And you want the tiger to kind of be like looking a little lost, maybe wandering around. Not the case. The tiger's in like full stalk mode, crouched to the ground, kind of just eyeing him down, headed straight at him.
Yeah, that
which
doesn't
is
sound good.
Not where you want to be. So Shivam doesn't really have any options, and he is just completely frozen with fear, paralyzed. He can't move, and his mind's just like, this is it. I don't know what to do. This tiger's going to get me. But against all odds, he survived, but it is at the expense of his best friend and most loyal companion.
Not a dog.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Dude.
So, dog warning for, all
You
you dog
dogs.
heads out there.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah. But it's a really, really inspiring story. I don't know if inspiring's the right word, but it's like just such a brave,
Moving.
cool dog.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a cool dog. So anyways, a lot of our listeners can relate to, especially Mike and Wes. Like, we've all lost a dog. Mine, though, I don't know, it's kind of a little bit different. But Mike and Wes were really connected to two dogs that they lost more recently than mine. Mine was like, I was still kind of a kid. But anyways, Mike, this is especially going to relate to you because the dog that Shivam had been raising for 10 years was a
Don't.
German Shepherd named Bentho.
Please.
Yeah.
That wasn't
And
my
his
dog's
best
name, though,
bud.
believe it or not.
Yours was named Brock, like the Rock Pokemon trainer.
Or the, wrestler.
Brock Lesnar.
So Bentho sees this tiger coming straight at his owner, who he loves so much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he interferes. He does what any good, huge dog would do, and this German Shepherd, without fear, goes straight at the tiger and catches the tiger kind of off guard. I don't think tigers are very used to animals, like, really coming at them and, like,
Yeah.
wanting to fight them,
One
So the
Swiss
tiger
Family
kinda is like,
Robinson.
whoa, what is this? And then
Yeah.
the tiger ends up, putting out its claws, slashing up Bentho, and biting him by the neck.
Mm.
And then the tiger's still trying to go after Shivam, and Bentho digs his legs in and, like, stops the tiger again with its neck in its mouth,
Jeez.
and is just being as aggressive as possible in that situation. So again, the tiger has to like stop and reassess its situation. Like, what is this animal doing? It's kind of big, and it's like really putting a bend in my plan here. It's really taking my focus off of my prey. So the tiger lets go of Bentho and just goes back into the jungle. It's like, you know what? Another day, another dollar. I'm just out of here type of thing.
Yeah.
Another day, another dollar situation? Probably.
I don't think so.
I don't know if that's right, but
We get what you're trying to say.
And Bentho, such a badass dog, stands up and watches this tiger until it leaves into the jungle, like on all fours.
Yeah.
Just like in between it and its owner. And then once the tiger is out of sight, Bentho collapses. So then Shivam picks Bentho up, carries him in his arms for 25 kilometers running to the nearest vet. But they get to the vet. Bentho is in bad shape. I mean, a tiger just bit his neck really hard, and it's a deep gash. So the vet tries for a few hours and isn't able to save Bentho's life, and his owner's obviously devastated. He gives Bentho full credit for saving his life. He raised him for 10 years as a pup, and you know, it's very tragic, but like I do think that's kind of, I don't know, it's too bad that they don't have like try bear spray or something in that area. Sounds like they kind of have a German Shepherd as protection in those fields a bit, you know, like you need a better protection for you and your dog.
Yeah.
Like
There's
I
a
love
heaven
Bentho
for dogs.
for sacrificing himself. That's like such a badass way to go out.
Yeah.
And a dog facing off with a tiger and getting it to stop what its intentions were is just so cool. And, you know, really sorry to Shivam, but your dog's a legend.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah. If there's a heaven for dogs, that dog's up there, you know?
Oh,
Eating
yeah.
lots of treats, chasing squirrels and rabbits, just doing its
Yeah.
thing. Great story. Very sad.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for all three of us when I say life's been a little crazy lately. We've been doing a lot of traveling, recording more episodes. And one thing that's really been helping me unwind are Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. I've always been a fan of CBD. I do think for all the different things, for helping with stress, for helping just to relax, it's the one that does the most for me and doesn't really have any crazy side effects. Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether it's stress, discomfort, or just needing a little relaxation. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, which is the purest and most potent CBD. And for me, it's just important that I'm getting something that's organic, that's third-party lab tested, to ensure that I'm getting something that's not only safe, but also really pure and ethical. You know, we're big fans of ethics when it comes to exploiting natural resources. So I love that Cornbread Hemp's gummies are USDA organic. So right now, Tooth and Claw listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/tooth and use code TOOTH at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/tooth and use code TOOTH. All right, is it my turn again? I think it is. It's my turn. Okay, so I'm going to talk about bear attack. It's one in the U.S. It's not necessarily something you'd expect.
My source was the Economic Times.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, for almost all my stories, I consult like a bunch of different articles. So just take what you will for that.
Yeah.
If I ever just use one article, I'll let you guys know, but it's generally just a bunch.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So on January 19th, Andrew Neyer was enjoying a little walk in the town of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, when something you don't expect to see in January emerged from the woods and started following him. And that was a 200-pound black bear. So this is kind of in the Poconos region of Pennsylvania. It's a place where it gets really cold. So you wouldn't expect to have bears out and about in mid-January. That just isn't typical bear behavior. So when Neyer tried to run from this bear, it followed him, and then it got it close enough to actually mount an attack and bring him to the ground. There's actually like CCTV footage of this where he kind of avoids the bear and it just continues following him, and he does a little half circle. And the bear just follows right in that half circle. And then he kind of stops and confronts the bear, and it just jumps on him. And luckily for him, his neighbor saw and heard the commotion and arrived with a handgun. And this neighbor shot the bear, which did release its grip and ran away and died in some nearby brush. And that same bear had been seen earlier in the day near the local market. And both its general behavior and the fact that it was up looking for food seemed pretty strange. And I agree with that. And when I watched this video, I thought, man, that's like a predatory bear, but it's kind of odd how casual it's being about this predation. It wasn't like stalking or really, it just seemed strange to me when I watched it. And I fully think this guy's neighbor saved his life. I think had this guy not shown up, the bear probably would have killed him. Anyway, one thing that I just want to talk about really quickly is that even though bears are hibernators, and you'll hear, especially in the past, you'll hear discourse about whether or not they're actually hibernators. Some people say because it's more of a torpor they enter, it's not necessarily hibernation. But I do want to just make clear that most bear biologists, myself included, do consider what black bears and grizzly bears do in North America and throughout the northern hemisphere. We do consider that hibernation. Their metabolism drops to a level where, it's hibernation. There's different physiological processes that happen in hibernation. It's just something that we really consider efficient hibernation, which means rather than like these other animals that essentially go into a coma when they enter hibernation, bears can come out of it quite quickly. So they're really good at just kind of going in and out of these different phases. And when a bear comes out of hibernation in the winter, if it's warm enough outside, and if the bear kind of gets these context clues from the weather outside, sometimes they'll actually leave the den and even go looking for food during that hibernation period. That's not unheard of. Me and Jeff had one really warm winter where we were trying to get into bear dens and kind of check their collars and whatnot. And because it was so warm, we really didn't find many bears that were fully asleep. Almost all of them were partly awake and they would run away when they heard us coming. So it really can affect the depth of their hibernation and whether or not they're going to wake up or not. Anyway, that's just a little aside. Any questions before I continue, Mike?
It makes me think of the movie The Passengers or whatever, where Chris Pratt wakes up. What's her name?
Yeah, I never saw that movie.
Do you think any bears
Jennifer
ever
Lawrence.
do you think bears ever wake each other up and be like, well, I don't know what happened, but it's just because they were bored and lonely because they were supposed to be sleeping, but they're not?
Wasn't that movie supposed to be like unfathomably bad?
I'm not sure.
No.
I feel like it got like some of the worst reviews ever. Okay.
I feel like it
never
was just
saw
like it didn't live up to the hype.
it was just boring, just mid.
And it's
Yeah.
like, in retrospect, it's like actually not very romantic. It's more psychotic.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
wild because she ends up kind of she figures out that he woke her up. Well, we don't have to get into this, but she
Yeah.
falls in love with him anyway. And it's like,
That is.
I don't know if
pretty
that's a
crazy.
good message, but whatever.
Persistence, man.
And it's not even
that's-
that.
That's one
Yeah.
word
It's
for
like
it.
making yourself the only option
Manipulation.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, this bear's behavior is far from typical, even for a bear that's coming out of its den midwinter. And sure enough, when they autopsied the carcass, they did find that this bear tested positive for rabies, which makes it one of a small handful of bears to have been tested positive for the virus. Since 1999, there have been like 5 or 6 bears total in the US that have tested positive for rabies. So it's really not common. It's much more common in the eastern US than it would be in the western US, but still, they're not typical vectors for the rabies virus. Bats, foxes, raccoons, skunks, dogs, those are the kind of, or dogs not really anymore either. They've kind of eradicated it in dogs. Those are the animals that you generally see it in. Bears, it's not typical, but it is possible. And pretty interesting, actually, that this bear was rabid. It really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Nair was fine. Nair was fine. Didn't blame the bear. Good interview with him where he just said, these animals have to eat. And that's what it was trying to do. But that was before he knew it was rabid, I think. So.
No, I'm actually really glad you said that because I responded to a listener who asked, like, hey, is it common for bears to be rabid? And I was like, no, it's really not. But I was kind of like, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. You got it right. Good job, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next, Mike?
Yeah, let me take over real quick. So this is from WLBT.com, reported recently. This one,
Ooh, I got one like that too.
yeah, one that was reported recently.
From WW something.
Okay. Yeah, that's the www dot.
That's any
Sure.
web page, Jeff.
Great. So I'm just realizing now that I didn't really bring to the table many like true violent animal attacks.
That's okay.
I'm going for it anyway. This is a good one. So this one isn't so much an animal attack, I guess unless you consider a crossbow an animal.
I don't.
Probably don't.
Not at all.
Is there any argument that it is?
I can't come
Is
up
there
with that.
anyone out there?
So this one takes place at a little shop you guys might be familiar with. Birds by Joe 2. You ever heard of Birds by Joe 2?
I don't know.
I didn't know
I've
there
never
was a
heard of that
second one.
I know,
Yeah.
it's like a sequel kind of thing. So it's in New Jersey, and it's owned by Katerina Rukavishnikova. So again,
It's not
another
owned
Russian.
by Joe.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting
It's
name for her.
Odd. But so this actually, the story takes place or starts on January 23rd of 2025. And this is when Katerina's
Birds by Joe does have a little bit better ring to it than Birds by Katerina Vishnikova.
Birds by Cat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have done a better job, but
Or is two like TOO? Like she's
No,
saying like
it's-
Joe owns them too.
nope. It's just the number 2.
All right.
She really should have consulted you guys on naming the store. She seems to be doing fine with it though, so
Yeah.
she didn't need us. So this is January 23rd, 2025. Katerina's bad luck starts on this date. It started when a hooded man walked into Birds by Joe 2, started
Ring.
asking after an African gray parrot that the store had up for sale. And
Those
what
are
do we
smart.
know? What do we know? They're
They're
smart,
birds.
right?
They just talk a lot. Yeah.
And the thing that really kind of threw her for a loop at first was he knew all the right questions to ask. He was like, I don't know, does it want a
Polly
cracker?
want a cracker. Yeah.
If this bird's name was Polly, would it want a cracker? Hypothetically, kind of thing. So that put Katerina at ease. She's like, usually people who are causing trouble don't really bother to do the kind of homework that this guy seemed to have done. But all of a sudden, he grabbed the bird, cage and all, it was still in its cage, and he just booked it out of the store. And this is like a $7,000 parrot. And she was so stunned at first. She was kind of motionless, and she freaked out and probably pursued.
Like
but
the tiger.
to no avail. Yeah, right.
Like the guy at the tiger.
Right.
Yeah.
The bird. Yeah, right. A lot of similarities now that you mention that. So he's gone. He took off. She couldn't catch him. None of the authorities caught up with them, at least for a while. Thankfully, the store's cameras did capture what happened. And they were later posted to the Instagram account, and it was returned to her eventually.
All those parrots could be witnesses too. You know?
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just ask
Right.
them what happened.
point.
They'll tell you. Yeah.
Actually, that made me want to ask the question. I know the ownership of exotic animals is kind of a no-go zone. What are your opinions on exotic birds, Wes? Is that more of a gray area, or is that like okay? Is it cool? I don't know.
For me, if they're like born in captivity and they're given a suitable enclosure and like enrichment and all the things you need to give a pet, I'm okay with it. But I'm not okay with like people taking them out of the wild or doing it irresponsibly. So yeah, take that for what you will. There's probably people that don't agree with me, but that's personally how I feel about it.
Sure. Okay. Well, like I said, an anonymous tip got the police to pursue and not apprehend, actually. Sorry, I misspoke. The suspect was a 24-year-old man named Onyx Calderon, which is probably
a good name.
the coolest name I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
He actually remains on the loose. They never caught him, but they did find the bird and return it to Birds by Joe too.
They know who he is.
They know his name.
It seems like
We're doxing
that's
him.
like that's the hard step.
Yeah.
Catching him's easy now.
Really? Just because you know his name doesn't mean you know where he is. Maybe he
Yeah,
fled
there's probably
to-
not a
He's-
like a
He's gonna be in
wide-scale
hiding his
manhunt for
whole
this guy
life for
either.
stealing a parrot.
I mean,
Probably
if that's
not.
what it takes, yeah, maybe he's gonna try.
I think they'll probably forget about this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, here's a variable that was inserted to into the equation that might help him get away a little bit easier, because something much crazier happened at this same shop a couple weeks later. So this is February 18th, about a month later. Cops responded to a call from Birds by Joe 2, and what they found on the scene was something that I would personally call unexpected, if you will. So Katerina, through a bloody mouth, told them that she had just taken a crossbow bolt to the face from a store regular. So
Interesting.
it started when she heard, again, this guy was a store regular. His name is Raymond Carey. He was mumbling something in the back of the store. And since she knew him, she kind of bustled down the aisle and asked him to repeat what he said. But when she got close, he pulled a crossbow out of a little bag. So I guess it's like a mini crossbow. And like almost from point blank, just blasted her in the face with it. And it went through her face.
Phrasing, Mike.
And yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
So the arrow went through her face and ripped up her lip and her tongue. But before he could get a second shot off, she knocked the crossbow out of his hand and he took off.
Yeah.
She ran out to a nearby bike shop and asked for help, told them to call the police. And when they responded to the scene, this is what they saw. They rushed her to the hospital and she had like a bunch of her teeth on her lower jaw had to be removed. They're thinking probably some more have to be removed in the coming weeks.
That would be so surprising.
I know. Like a guy you've known.
What's he pulling out of this bag? Oh, a fucking crossbow?
Crossbow. Yeah. So this case was closed quite a bit quicker than the last one, believe it or not. So 1 p.m. the next day, police found and detained Raymond in a small Jersey Shore town. And he's now being charged with attempted first-degree murder.
Wow.
But just as he was found 1 day later, so too is Katerina found 1 day later back in the store working. She's just like all bandaged up. And that's pretty sweet. I don't know. Like when I think about Russian women, I think about like very hardy, like tough. I'll take a crossbow arrow to the face and that's not going to even faze me kind of thing.
A shot of vodka is all they need.
think of the lady in GoldenEye who like kills people with their thighs.
Yeah, on a top. Was her last name. That's all
what
I remember.
I think of when I think of Russian women.
I remember watching that pretty young and kind of being like, what's going on here?
I was like, that was like one of my first like, I got some feeling here.
Yeah.
It's definitely where I like first kind of figured out that maybe I wouldn't mind having a girlfriend who could kick my ass, you know?
Yeah.
When they're fighting in that little bathhouse thing.
Like pain's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd be into getting like dominated.
Yeah, sure. Girls, there you go.
At least be willing to consider it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
guys,
Famke Janssen. I think that wasn't that on
Janssen. Yep. Arena on a top. Is that her name?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, that was a big movie for me. That also was some of my first awakenings, Jeff.
Xenia
on a top. Okay.
The end when they're doing like the heat camera and he's like on top of her. That part, I was like, whoa. Was that GoldenEye? I thought that was the one with Christmas Jones.
Oh, that's the one with Denise Richards.
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Jones. Christmas Comes Twice is the line that I remember. Oh, geez.
What does that mean? I never understood that joke, Wes.
Kids, don't worry about it. It's just James Bond. This episode of Tooth and Claw is brought to you by Graza, which is my new favorite olive oil. It's fresh, it's never blended, and it comes from a single type of olive straight out of high-end Spain, where over half of the world's olive oil is produced. Only one type of olive from one region means you have no mysterious blends. You have a traceable, fresher product without mixing in any lower grade or unknown oils. And one thing I really love about Graza is their super fun squeeze and spray bottles, which means you don't have messy tins or drippy spouts. I hate grabbing olive oil things when they're really just oily all the time. You just aim, you squeeze, and you go. And there's 3 types of olive oil from Graza for any task. Frizzle is their newest, which has a really high 490 degree smoke point, which is perfect for frying, crisping, or grilling. And for me, when I eat something, I really like it to be crisp. It's things that are supposed to be crisp at least. And this is perfect for that. They also have Sizzle, which has a 410 degree smoke point. It's great for an everyday cooking oil, roasting, marinating, and sauteing. And then they have Drizzle, which is a bold, punchy finishing oil you can sprinkle on your salads. You can dip bread in. You can even top your ice cream with it if you want. It's just a really tasty kind of last minute thing that you can put on a lot of different types of food. I really like Graza because I'm an occasional cook and they make it super easy to know which type of oil to use. And I really like their squeeze bottles just to make it fast and simple. So head to graza.co and use Tooth to get 10% off your trio, which includes the Sizzle, Frizzle, and Drizzle to get cooking on your next chef quality meal. That's Graza.co and use code TOOTH for 10% off. Thank you, Graza, for sponsoring this episode. Man, maybe Kat should get out of the bird business, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough stretch for her. It's
Yeah.
really been a hard couple weeks.
Jeff, what do you got next?
All right. Let's take a trip down south.
All right.
How south can we go?
Pretty south. Key West.
Until there's people. No, like south
Oh, south,
in
south.
the Americas, yeah.
Sure,
Oh.
like Tierra
Start
del Fuego.
naming the most south you can think of.
Ushuaia, Argentina.
Like countries. Oh,
Argentina,
Close.
Chile.
yeah.
Okay.
We're going to Punta Arenas, Chile.
Punta Arenas. Yeah,
Punta Arenas?
probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Punta Arenas, Chile. And
Is that right?
Adrian Simancas. I thought I nailed it the first time, but then
Let
you
me check.
sounded like
I
you're
might be
correcting
wrong.
me.
Been to Punta Arenas, but
No, that sounds
Ah.
right. Punta Arenas. Adrian Simancas was kayaking with his father Del in Bahia el Agulla. Agulla. I speak Spanish.
yeah.
Bahia el Aguilla near San Isidro Lighthouse in the Strait of Magellan. So everyone knows where that is, right?
Eagle Bay. Yeah.
I think Magellan found it first.
Not first, but yeah. He
Well,
was
in
there.
like recorded history, maybe.
Right.
Sure, Western colonial history. Yep.
No,
I'll give him
recorded.
that.
Yeah, okay,
Uh,
sure, yeah.
Some of these other cultures recorded stuff.
I'm sure they were
you know?
recording things.
I don't
yeah.
think they recorded straits in the ocean.
I think that's maybe selling them a little bit short.
All right.
Okay.
Anyways, you know what? I'm going to give a little bit of credit to Magellan for finding this. place
Magellan
still.
did a lot. He was, yes, very important to that region.
But
of the
you know
world.
who found it before him?
Who?
Before any of us, Wes?
Seals?
Humpbacks.
Humpback whales. All right.
Yeah. Humpback whales have always known about Magellan Strait before they even changed the name from what humpbacks had named it.
Yeah, they just called it.
Yeah. They can't even say Magellan, I bet. So, anyways, father and son, they're kayaking. They're having a great time. It's beautiful. You know, Chile, you get the huge mountains with the beaches. Beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to be out in the water. They're just having fun.
Yeah.
You know? Well, you know it wasn't so fun, Wes?
What?
When Adrian was swallowed whole with his kayak by a humpback whale.
Sounds fun to me.
Good
Now
golly.
that's a big mouth.
That is a big mouth.
Like I told a news story once where a lobster diver got swallowed for like 30 seconds by a humpback and then it spat him out
In Boston.
in Boston. But like he wasn't in a kayak.
Yeah.
This whale
He's just
came out
outside.
and swallowed the entire kayak with
Yeah.
the kid.
Which there
That's
is some
crazy.
other videos that we've seen of that happening. But this one's one of the more compelling ones.
What
And
color
that's
was
like-
the kayak?
Yellow.
Orange.
Banana. Probably thought it was a banana.
Was it
That's
yellow?
when it's- Oh.
I
well,
think
maybe
it's
not.
yellow.
I
Let's
thought it was orange,
fact
but we also
check, so-
never agree on colors.
That's true.
Cantaloupe. It's the least important aspect of this story.
Well, you needed to know, Mike.
I regret. I'm gonna just stop. Never mind.
I'm
Listeners, I want you to
misspelling
know
every
that-
word. Yellow,
Yeah.
very yellow, banana
All right.
yellow.
I forgot.
There
I
it
was
is.
wrong.
Oh man. So yeah, that still doesn't make what Mike said true, though. It doesn't think it's a giant banana necessarily.
No.
You know what? Sometimes whales just don't see where they're going because they go a lot of places, you know?
I don't think that makes any kind of sense.
I've seen the video, and what I think happened, unless you were already going to talk about this.
I mean, you saw one with an orange kayak.
well, I've seen a bunch. There's been a few of these. Humpback whales are eating really small things. They eat krill, they eat, all these things that are generally quite small, but they also can eat schooling balls of fish. And they're really good at kind of corralling those fish into a certain area, and then they'll come up. And I forget what the name of the behavior is, but it's essentially they create a net with bubbles and whatnot, and then they come up through the. It's called a bubble net. I'm pretty sure that what's the behavior is, but they come up through the middle of it, and they can consume a very large amount of fish in one gulp. And if you just happen to be kayaking over that spot when that whale comes up mouth open, it would swallow you whole. It would immediately spit you back out, which I assume is what happened here, but it would swallow you whole.
Adrian was in there for a few seconds, and he was pretty scared. He thought he was going to die.
I'd be terrified. Yeah.
And like it's especially dangerous in this one compared to the lobster diver, because the lobster diver, you could just get blown out the blowhole. But with a kayak, that's not possible.
I don't agree with that, but
so like he's stuck in there unless the whale spits it out. No blowhole, that's out of the equation. So it spits him out, and he's like just panicked. Now he's worried about his dad. He's like, the whale's gonna go eat my dad. And the whale's done eating him. You know, it's gone. And then he's like, I'm going to get hyperthermia. But he's just in a panic state. And now what I liked is Del, his dad, was just recording everything. He was like kind of chill about it. He like didn't lose his like focus with the camera. He kept recording. Praise to the cameraman. Good job. You know, you want
for once,
like,
he got it right.
And especially now, like, I'm sure he was scared for his son's safety, but like, especially now that his son's fine, I'm sure he's pretty happy that he got all the footage.
Such a good video,
you know? Yeah.
It's kind of funny because when they're getting out of there, he just kind of drags him in his boat.
Yeah.
It's not like he doesn't get back on the boat. The dad just drags him and the kayak away from the area.
Yeah. No, you know, cool dad though. And that happened February 8th. And then, just because that one's kind of short, I have one other little Coyotes Be Wildin' headline here.
Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah.
So, a new study off the coast of Fort Bragg, California, led by UC Santa Cruz PhD student Frankie Garrity. Her and her team recorded that harbor seal pups, that coyotes prey on harbor seal pups in that area. And you know, they had found some carcasses that were pretty torn up over the years. So then they put out cameras and did an actual study. And you know what? Coyotes be wild. Not everyone knows that they're just killing seals.
Clubbing baby seals out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, seals.
Yeah, it's all right. There's plenty of seals. Okay.
Wes,
yeah.
You loved that seal commercial for the Super Bowl?
I didn't like it at all.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Where
no.
seal was a seal? Did you get it?
Yeah, I thought it was lazy. Yep, I sure did.
Are you sure you get the joke?
I got it. Yeah. I guess I really didn't because I didn't think it was funny at all.
Oh, no, it's because his name was Seal.
Right. His name's Seal and he's a seal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On February 7th, a 55-year-old Canadian woman was snorkeling and swimming off of Providenciales, Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean in waist-deep water when suddenly something bumped into her, and then she was bitten on the thigh by a medium-sized 6-foot shark. And the shark was never fully identified in any of the articles that I read, but based off the behavior, this bump and bite behavior, the fact that it's the Caribbean, shallow water, I'm guessing this is a bull shark. If I was a betting man, which I am, I'd bet some good money that this is a bull shark.
I thought by identify, you were like, we know it wasn't Jim the shark out there.
It was, it wasn't. Yeah. No, not the individual shark, the species of shark.
Right.
And again, this is the reason why I think bull shark bite numbers are probably a bit underreported, because they often are a hard shark to identify. They don't have markings like tiger sharks. They're not as universally well known as great whites. So often they kind of go unidentified as some sort of requiem shark. Anyway, I do think this was probably a bull shark. When she was bitten on the thigh, she put her hands out to try and either push the shark away or prevent another bite. And when she did that, the shark bit onto both of her hands. And
it like let go of her thigh and bit her hands?
Yeah, and sawed through them pretty quickly.
Whoa.
While it was biting them, her husband ran out, got to her side, managed to somehow separate her and the shark. Some of the articles said he wrestled the shark away. Some say that, just splashing out there was enough to discourage the shark. But he dragged her up on shore, and there are some photos of people gathered around her holding towels to her arms. And she was treated in a hospital on the island and then flown back to Canada for more treatment and surgery. She ended up having one of her hands amputated at the wrist, and the other one about halfway up her forearm.
Oh my gosh.
So she lost both hands to this shark, which is super unfortunate.
That's all you've got, I think.
Completely life-changing. Yeah. And there's not really like, I think if you're being attacked by a bull shark in waist deep water on your vacation out of the blue, there's no way that you can prepare yourself to really react to that, you know? But I do think the more targets you give an animal like that, the more you kind of have to be willing to sacrifice those parts of your body. So that's just something to keep in mind. If it's already focused on like your thigh or something, maybe that's just where you let it focus while you try and get to help or anything else. And again, I'm not blaming her. I think I would probably do the exact same thing. I'd probably try and push the shark off.
I think it'd be almost impossible to not try to
Totally.
do something with your hands.
Yeah, but that's the only thing I could think of. They are thrashing around when they're biting. They're hard to keep a hold of. I think we've done a number of stories where people end up with some pretty crazy hand injuries trying to fight off sharks. So if it's possible, try not to get your hands too involved.
Stick your head in there instead.
Yeah, try and push it off with your head. Yeah, that'll work really well. One thing that I thought was unfortunate is there's this narrative online. A lot of the articles, again, that I found said that she was trying to take a photo of the shark, and that's why it attacked. I didn't see any evidence for that. I don't believe it. I don't think a 55-year-old Canadian woman on vacation in waist deep water is trying to approach sharks. That just doesn't really add up to me. That's a judgment call on my part, and she could have been trying to get really close to it for a photo, but I kind of don't. To me, it feels like, and again, this is another judgment call, it feels like something maybe the authorities said to try and bring down panic levels for this particular bite. Because this isn't an island that's known for shark attacks or shark bites. So I think that when they do happen, it kind of creates a lot of media frenzy.
Conspiracy West strikes again.
Flat
Earth.
Got my tin hat
Moon
on.
landing.
I'm not a flat earther. Moon landing, who knows? Just kidding. Anyway, I looked up the Florida shark attack file for Turks and Caicos. They've had 3 attacks on record since like the 1700s, pretty much. So this isn't a high frequency place. This isn't a place where you'd expect to run into sharks or getting bit by a shark. But there was one just a couple years ago at the same beach, pretty much, where a woman got her leg bit off. So they have
By a
happened with
shark?
a little bit more frequency. By a shark. Yeah. Anyway,
It'd be nice.
maybe that
you know,
shark's building a Frankenstein person. with all
that's
these
a good
body
thought.
parts. Yeah.
It'd be great if all of our body parts started off with baby versions like we have with our teeth, and you just lose them and you can grow the adult version. Like you just have baby hands until you get your adult ones. Then they'd grow back. That'd be great.
Or like that Spider-Man villain who just wants to make us lizards.
Yeah. Kurt Connors? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I think
Sounds
so.
alliterative
Yes.
enough to be a Marvel name.
All right. And then my next story is another quick one. As you guys all know, as we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, early this year, there was devastating fires in Southern California, mostly around Los Angeles. Hundreds, if not thousands of people lost their homes. It was just crazy to behold, even from a distance, to see the kind of devastation and just truly apocalyptic sights coming out of Southern California. Just really quick before we launch in the story, our hearts still go out to those of our listeners that were affected by that. Such an insane tragedy, and we definitely were thinking about you this year. But someone that got pretty lucky during that whole thing is this guy named Sammy Arbid and his family. Seems like a genuinely lucky person, because he and his wife had moved into a house in Altadena, California, not long before the Eaton fire destroyed large areas of that community. And his house was spared from the fires, but came within a block of being destroyed. Pretty lucky. He's also lucky because he had a 550-pound black bear denning in the crawl space under his house, which a lot of people might not think is lucky. I consider that pretty lucky.
You have a little space for one in your place.
I do. We got a little crawl space just like
You
this.
would love to have one in there.
Any bears out there that are listening, come den in my crawl space. Happy to have you. He and his wife had discovered this bear prior to the fires when they'd heard clanking sounds beneath the bedroom. They peeked in the crawl space and they saw a huge male bear. It had probably moved in while the house was for sale and unoccupied, and it seemed to be kind of settled in there. This is Southern California, so these bears aren't necessarily, unless they're pregnant, they're not really denning the way they would in other
in California,
places.
they probably have squatters' rights.
Yeah, we'll actually get to that. They slow down a bit during the winter, but it's probably still going out for food and stuff. It's not in a full hibernative state. Anyway, so they tried to see what could be done. They learned that this bear had been fed by a neighbor, so it's food conditioned, not really afraid of humans.
That's bad.
And it's mostly quiet under their house, but sometimes it would bang into pipes and then their dogs would lose their minds. So they actually had to move where they were sleeping to a different room with the dogs to try and not have these nightly barking frenzies.
That's crazy that they're just like, you
Dealing
gotta
with it.
keep living with it.
Well,
Yeah.
so they called Animal Control and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, but they were told there was nothing they could do. And hopefully the bear would leave in
crazy.
the spring. It is crazy. That's very surprising to me. I don't think
Yeah.
that would be the response here in Montana. I'm pretty sure they would say,
No.
oh yeah, we'll come get rid of that bear. Anyway, the fires then happened. They were forced to evacuate their home, and the bear was still there, comfortably sleeping. When they got back to the house, their house was spared. Bear's still there. The gas company goes to turn the gas back on. Can't do it because there's a 550-pound bear in the way of the gas. So the difference now is that their house was in a recovery area following the fire. So they were finally able to get the wildlife department to their house to remove the bear. This is a big bear. 550 pounds is huge
That's
for a black bear.
huge, Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really too big to sedate and try and pull out there. So instead, what they did is they got a trap. They placed it near the crawl space entrance. They baited it with rotisserie chicken, sardines, and apples smeared with peanut butter.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that works.
That'd get me.
Yeah. Jeff, we've done some black bear trapping. How long would you guess it took for them to catch this bear?
Like right next to it, a day.
Minutes.
Yeah.
This trap had been baited for minutes and this bear came out. And if this were a really wild bear, I think it would take days, if not weeks, to catch it. This is a food conditioned bear. So I think the second it caught whiff of that combo, which is a
550 pounds is like the biggest black bear I've heard of.
Yeah, it's eaten a lot of human food. So it immediately crawls out, immediately gets trapped. They put a GPS collar on it and took it into the Angeles National Forest and released it. And I would bet the farm this bear will be back in Altadena within, it's probably back already.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's probably already there. You have to relocate food conditioned bears a really long distance for them not to come back. Like, I think you'd have to take this bear hundreds of miles away for it not to come back. So unfortunately, these departments often don't have the money or the manpower to do that. So they took it to the closest wilderness area. And I would bet a lot of money it's going to be back.
Man, that's crazy. Just
Yeah.
like
It's a big old bear.
have a 550-pound black bear living under your house and you just got to live with it. I kind of like it, but it's like crazy.
Pretty amazing.
The biggest grizzly bear I ever caught was like that big, and it was big. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of bear to handle. So yeah, that's huge.
What do you think?
Anyway.
Do you think bears prefer smooth or chunky peanut butter?
Probably smooth,
Really?
but
I
I doubt they
would've
really
said
care
chunky.
much. Yeah,
Me too, but you're the expert.
It
One
does-
of the
I-
10
they probably
sexiest.
don't care either way.
Tooth and Claw is brought to you by Rocket Money. I love a good show. I'm always watching new shows. If someone recommends something to me, I'm going to watch it. And I find myself signing up for a lot of subscriptions because of that. But what I don't find myself doing is targeting all those subscriptions after I'm done with my show and canceling them. That's why I need Rocket Money. Rocket Money finds those unwanted subscriptions for me, helps me cancel them, and makes it so I just don't need to worry about it anymore. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 5 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using the app's premium features. Let me tell you, personally, I saved a lot of money because of Rocket Money. Also, I love the dashboard. It gives you a clear view of your expenses across all your accounts, which I really need. So, cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/claw today. That's rocketmoney.com/claw rocketmoney.com/claw.
The last one will end on a little bit of a downer. This one, it's an interesting one because it actually happened about a year ago, but we only recently learned about it because of some legal proceedings, legal developments. So last May, Craig and Lisa Manders were on a 10-day tour through Zambia when they were walking pretty close to a river, and the lawsuit goes that there was not adequate protection or warning issued to them to alert them to the dangers that a hippopotamus could pose, which, like a lot of people, for instance, 4 years ago would probably have lacked critical information, got myself into a similar situation if the situation presented itself as such. But a hippo came up from the river when it saw Lisa nearby. It kind of burst its head up out of the water and rushed right at her and started just going to town with its mouth, munched on her, lifted her up off the ground and, quote, shaking her entire body, crushing her head and body with its bite. Jeez. Which is just, I can't, and her husband was
awful to have to see that happen to someone in your family.
Just can't even imagine it. And you're in a stranger in a strange land, and all of a sudden, I mean, it was over so quick, I'm sure. Like, she had no time to even really register exactly or feel. Yeah, I'm hoping, silver lining. It's a tragedy all around, but like, it just goes to show that these animals are not to be trifled with. Males can get up to 3,000 pounds, and they're fast. They can move quick. They're not ungulate or cat speed or even bear speed. Maybe like 20 to 25 miles per hour they can get up to.
Yeah, they are ungulates. Yeah.
They are ungulates. That's right.
Yeah.
What do you think about their milk being pink?
Interesting. It's cool.
Is that true? Did we decide that was? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's true. Yeah.
I think yak milk might be pink, right? That's what we were talking about.
Well, anyway, another interesting wrinkle to this whole thing is the number I saw thrown around that the tour company, not even like the guides over in Zambia, they're being sued for $15,000. Which seems
not too much.
Really, really low.
Yeah, that does seem low.
And it's a strange one. The debate's really been around whether the tour guide should have to, or the tour kind of middlemen that planned the itinerary, but really had nothing to do with what happened on the ground over in Zambia, whether they should have to assume any responsibility or not. It doesn't seem like it to me. Like I guess there should have been a footnote or a bullet point saying like, watch out for the hippos, but that kind of seems like boots on the ground kind of information that the actual tour guides maybe should have been providing. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think there's some liability. I think that when you hire a company like this to do wildlife tourism and help you through this, this ecosystem you don't necessarily understand, you are placing some trust in them for your safety. And obviously they can't, a safari has an element of danger to it. That's kind of what makes it exciting. But on one of our safaris, I remember in Zimbabwe, one of our guests kind of was getting close to a water hole. Not close, like they were still probably 60 yards away. And our guide was like, stop, and was very adamant that they come back because of crocodiles. And I appreciated that. I think that you do need to, as a guide, you need to have your head on a swivel. So there is some liability, in my opinion.
Yeah, you need her to be like Linda Blair, just head spinning around.
Swiveling around, dude. Got to sell that soul to the devil. All right. Well, let's go on to our categories because I want to talk about India. Are you guys ready to talk about India?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into it, let's give a quick shout out to all of our participants on that trip. Like the rest of our trips.
Yeah, all of them.
I'm not going to leave them out. Like all of our trips, we had really fun participants on this one. I already missed them all.
Yeah.
Like I want to text them, but I don't want to be annoying. So just so everyone knows that went on this trip, we really enjoyed our time with you guys and had such a wonderful, memorable time.
Yeah.
So those
everyone,
people,
thank you so much. All you were great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Those people were Ben, Kirsten, Jackie, Cassie, Chantel, Kristen, Kara, Julie, Lauren, Sarah, Sam, Haley, Andrew, Asha, Libby, and Christine. We had a lot of K names. We had Kirsten, Kristen, Kara, Christine. Got a little confusing. And then our guides, Nahal and Sorab. Just a great time. Amazing. We had the best time. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Did love them. The first category. We had some amazing wildlife experiences on this trip. I'm curious what your guys' favorite was. Your favorite wildlife experience while we were in India.
My favorite was the first tiger I saw on my birthday, and
Yeah.
it was a female with 3 cubs, and I saw her scare like 15 deer out of the forest, and then they went in like some deep grass, and I think she saw where one went in, but she couldn't see it in the grass because she like pounced into the grass and
You got
was
a
like
great shot
looking
of
for
it.
it in the air. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then a little baby like came out of the grass and was on the road, and the tiger was like right next to it. And I was like, turn around, because I'm a sicko.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love a kill. I love a good kill. Mike?
Tiger's been the top of my list of favorite animals ever since I can remember. It's top of my kiss list, you know? You know what I mean?
It's not even at the top right now, though, right?
What do you mean?
Isn't cheetah ahead of it?
No, as far as favorite animals, no, it's not even, still not even a
Okay.
debate. My favorite animal sighting probably goes to the cheetah that we saw in Kenya, but that's different things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on this trip, a couple of our cars had the really, really good fortune of encountering a gigantic male tiger. I forgot his name. I should have written it down.
Yeah.
But
The biggest tiger in Todoba.
it was huge, and we were hovering over it for maybe 30, 35 minutes, maybe even longer than that. But
I think it was almost an hour. Yeah.
it was amazing. It was so cool to watch it just kind of plop down, even like get in the water, take a little bit of a bath under the sun,
yeah.
get up and move around a little bit more. But there was this moment when we were parked perpendicular to it, and it got up and it started walking directly towards our car, and it locked eyes with me when it was about 15 feet away, and it was really, really getting close. And it just clicked in my brain. Everyone else in the car had their cameras up, and I know there's a little bit of a disconnect that happens when you have a device in front of your face, and you kind of forget like that spatial, what it means to be that close to an animal like that. I didn't have anything between me and the tiger, so I started kind of making nervous sounds about how close it was getting, and people started laughing at me. But it just made me realize that if this tiger wanted to, it very easily from that distance could have just pounced up and ripped my head off. You know,
Nothing
it was
stopping
incredible.
it.
Yeah.
Our guides were getting pretty nervous too. Like they
Yeah.
kept trying to create distance between that tiger. So yeah, that was great. I echo that the tiger sightings were amazing. I counted and I saw 16 tigers, including 9 cubs, which is crazy. It's a lot. And we did 5 safaris in Todoba. My favorite was the snow leopard though. We spent the first few days of the
That's really
trip
cool.
really looking hard for a snow leopard, suffering some pretty cold, miserable conditions in the Himalayas. And when
Yeah.
we finally found one, it was one that had killed a blue sheep the night before.
Blue sheep. Are you kidding me right now?
Mike hates that name. Was kind of just hanging out on the mountain, just waiting for the cover of darkness to go back down and feed again. And for me, it was kind of a dream because I'm the person that wants to leave last from a good wildlife sighting. I really like staying for a long time to observe behavior. And our guides were pretty much like, okay, we're here until dark. We got there at first light and we were there until it got dark. And for me, that was such a dream to know that we weren't leaving and that I got to just watch it all day. And we did. We watched it for like 13 to 15 hours that day, which was amazing. And happened to be the day I had diarrhea, which was poor timing. Had to dig a lot of little holes around that area.
You started making a lot closer trips by the end.
Oh yeah. At first I like wandered really far for privacy, and then I was just like crouching down behind cars at the end.
It's really lucky. You told me I'd get deli belly. I didn't.
I
Still
did get
yet
it.
to have any diarrhea ever in my adult life.
I'm sorry. All right. Okay. Let's go on to our next one.
Also,
go ahead.
should we shout out what we saw? We were like camping with a pack of wolves, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Saw Himalayan lynx,
Eurasian.
Eurasian lynx.
really high
Leopard.
up there.
Dole.
How
Freaking
did Mike
bear.
know to correct me there? You guys,
We're
how
gonna.
did you know that?
Yeah, he just paid
yeah.
attention.
Yep.
We're gonna get into that though. We have another category to list your top 5 mammals and top 5 birds.
my
Oh yeah. Shut up,
It's all
Jeff.
right. All right. Next one though is favorite place we visited in India. We also saw some really cool places. So what was your favorite place we went to?
I loved the Buddhist monastery that we visited in Ladakh. I think it's just a byproduct of having grown up around Christian iconography and infrastructure. And I love just visiting other spiritual places. And there's something to be said for, more typical cathedrals, churches, whatever. But I just don't have that experience all that often to visit like a Buddhist or a Sikh or a Hindu or even a mosque. We visited kind of a little bit of all of those places, but the Buddhist monastery in Ladakh was pretty amazing to me. It's just monks living there full time. It was just such like it was
built into the mountain, like on top of a peak. It was really neat.
And I could just feel the peace like sinking into me. It was great.
Totally. That was my pick too. But I'll do a backup, which was also a Buddhist place.
It was really hard to like climb up it because we were in the high altitude and it's like upwards climb.
That was my day that I was feeling like the best though. So that one for me was like an easy one, but later on I really felt it. Roomback Village, where we were camping, there's a tiny little village above us where sometimes they let people stay in homes and stuff. And it just had this really quaint, villagey Buddhist feel to it. And we kind of got to interact with some of the locals there, a kid with a dog, a lady that was selling these like wool snow leopard dolls that she made. It's just a really neat little tiny village that we got to go to a couple times that I really fell in love with. So that was my backup answer, was Roomback Village. In the Himalayas of India.
Yeah, no, that's my answer too, just because the people there were so cool. Like in both of those, Ladakh was just, I don't know, I really liked it. But since you guys said them, I'll go Hindi Temple. I got my new number one favorite fountain show I've ever seen.
Yeah, awesome list.
Fountain show. Unreal. Passes Bellagio, passes Kuala Lumpur's fountain show.
Palace
really just top-notch stuff. Using laser lights in the fountain. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, pyrotechnics, like projections. It was
pretty
cool. We weren't allowed our phones, which made it even better. Yeah. Cool. All right, next one is most memorable, or if you choose, dumbest argument that we had while we were in India.
Wes, I want you. You should go first.
Okay, I'll go first. We had some dumb ones.
Obviously,
we went down some pretty dumb threads. But the one that I think I got, for whatever reason, like the most incensed about was when we were talking about fast food. And I can't remember which of you two it was. It was vehement that In-N-Out's not fast food. And
it's not. I'm okay to be the minority in this one. It's not.
Yeah. And so for me, I feel like there's different levels of fast food, but something is quantified as fast food by like having a drive-through and being fast.
It's like not. When's the last time you went to In-N-Out and the line was less than like 8 hours long? There's like 50 million cars.
It's still built to be fast.
Get through the line, the cars fast.
Yeah, each order is processed very quickly.
They do.
And I agree with you that it's elevated fast food. Like it is a higher quality than your McDonald's or Burger King or whatever, but it is the quintessential fast food restaurant to me. It's like it's stylized in a fast food manner.
Is Cafe Rio fast food?
No.
Why not?
I think it can be.
It could be. I wouldn't die on that hill. There's a
drive-through one in Salt Lake.
But
well,
to me,
looks like that line's drawn a little bit differently.
A restaurant that you come into and you like pick out what you want isn't necessary. Well, I guess Subway though, and I would definitely say Subway is fast food. Yeah, I think it's a fuzzier line, but for me, like In-N-Out is easily in the fast food category. So that was one of my favorite arguments we got.
There's no real big difference besides quality of food between it and McDonald's.
Right. That's it. It's just quality of food.
Right. And that's a big deal to me.
All right.
Fast food tastes like garbage. In-N-Out doesn't.
See, that's where I disagree.
It's a definite line.
But then like when I say, what's everyone's favorite fast food burger? And where someone says, like, I really like In-N-Out, and you're like, I don't even think that's fast food. It's kind of like, well, come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly how the argument went.
I know.
It's pretty close. That's not far from it. Yeah. What, Mike, why don't you go next?
I'll go. So that was actually my first choice too, but a very close second
from the other side.
Yeah. Right. Again, I'm willing to be in the minority, and it is a hill I'll die on. But this one is after we landed in Nagpur. I tried a bite of a sandwich that they were handing out on the in-flight meal for the in-flight snack, and I was asked to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10. And I said, well, the bite I just took tastes like nothing. So I guess like a 4. And to like fill in the gaps on this one, Wes, because you're kind of the main opponent on this one.
And then you said, what would be the number for neutral? And I said,
no, I never used the word neutral.
You did.
No, I did not.
No, you did.
That's ridiculous.
And then
Jeff,
I said,
no, you did.
I said,
no one
said,
trusts
are you
Jeff.
kidding me, Mike? No, because I clearly remember saying, Mike, are you joking? Like 5.
It tastes like
but
nothing.
then Wes was like, what are you talking about?
I was like, 5 is
neutral.
Clearly neutral. It's in the middle of 1 to 10. Like there's like by definition, that would be neutral, would it not?
But then I said, I don't think that's always neutral because sometimes, like, if you like way more food than you don't like, then the line might be like 3 or 4.
And that makes absolutely no sense to me because 5 is still neutral no matter what.
Doesn't have to be.
Like
If 3 is in the middle,
even if you
like if you have more 1s and 2, like if you have like half of your food are 1s and 2s.
Yeah. Let me
really
set up
picky.
an experience here though.
Yeah.
Let's say you have 1,000 different foods and you have to rank those 1,000 foods and almost all of them are 6, 7s or 8s. That means that you just like a lot more food. But if you were to say, what number should I assign to one of these foods that's neutral? It would be 5. Like there's no doubt there. 5 is in the middle. It's halfway between terrible and the best. It's neutral.
Sure. I just want to make this very clear. I specifically remember to everyone in the group, because the whole group was sitting there listening to us. I promise you I never used the word neutral. It doesn't even matter though.
Okay.
I remember.
But then what did you say?
It tastes like nothing. That's what I said. It tastes like nothing.
No, but you asked us what number would represent nothing.
Neutral.
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
Like,
Fine,
what would
nothing.
you give something that
Sure.
tastes like nothing? And I think there's a lot of different things, like Jeff already touched on it, like presentation or mouthfeel. There's a lot of things. I say something that tastes like nothing could be like a 4 or it could be a 6, depending on all the factors included.
We did like,
You know,
get
I'll
into
take my
neutrality, though.
statement back. I'm not sure if he said nothing or neutral.
Right.
I do know he asked like what number would represent.
I did
blank.
ask that.
And then I did
For
ask
sure.
you, what number would you say is neutral? And you kind of balked on like what
I said
it was.
5. I settled on saying 5, but I knew what you were trying to do because you're a manipulative
I
little
wasn't trying to trap
devil.
you.
Oh,
That's
you
just-
were.
I was appealing to your logic. You're a logical
Okay.
man. All right.
Yeah, not so much, it turns out.
Okay.
All right, Jeff.
This is a fun category.
Mine was more, I don't know, I can't think of like a really funny one, but me and Wes got in an argument about if lions are the king of the jungle or if tigers are the king of the jungle.
Yeah.
And I think we both had some good arguments. Wes, of course, ended up doing like the I'm a wildlife biologist line somewhere in there.
It's so unfair.
That's not a line. Like, it's the truth.
I think
it's what I've devoted
I think
my
we're
life
gonna
to.
prep I mean, it's just kind of like
Yeah.
I feel like you just pull that out when I say a good point.
No, but it's like
Right.
if we got in an argument about basketball and I was like, no, I was arguing something, you could easily say, Wes,
I don't
watch
think
a
I would
lot
win.
more basketball than you
I don't
do.
think I would be right in every argument we have.
I
about
don't.
basketball.
I don't think I'm right in every argument, but
Well,
I don't know.
but I do respect that you know volumes more about basketball than I do. I'm not going to argue Pokemon cards with you. I'm not going to argue
that one,
basketball
yeah,
with
that's
you.
good.
You know?
I mean, okay. I don't know.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna do a episode where I argue the case for lions and
Yeah.
Wes argues the case for tigers being
I'm
like
excited
the
for it.
ultimate king of the
Yeah.
jungle.
Yeah.
I
We'll run a poll.
posted a video of that tiger, the big one that Mike brought up, and said
Yeah.
like, I don't agree that people say lions are the king of the jungle. Got a lot of comments. People were very, very passionate
found
about
a-
this.
Lion that was in the zoo somewhere that got to like 800 pounds because
Yeah.
they fed it so much.
Lots of short kings
I
out
got
there
saved those.
saying that.
Um,
But I did wanted to say like one thing really quickly. When we say like king of the jungle, that's just like a phrase. We don't think that lions are like jungle animals. They can be. there are jungle lions out there. There's lions in the jungles of Gir, India. There's lions in the Congo in the jungles. There's forest lions. But we do understand, because there's so many comments on my post that said this, we do understand lions are mostly in grasslands. Tigers are in dry forests and jungles. That's understood.
Yeah.
So don't come at us with that. All right.
Exactly.
Now that we're all heated, let's move on.
Oh, I'm too pissed.
Okay.
We got to take a break.
All right. Let's do something you watched on the plane. Just real quick. A little break from wildlife. Something you watched on the plane that you enjoyed or didn't enjoy. You can talk about whatever you want.
I started rewatching the anime Monster. Naoki Urasawa single-handedly lending the anime scene, manga scene mostly, but by proxy, the anime scene, some credibility. Masterful storytelling. It starts off as like a medical drama, quickly turns into pretty wild psychological and fairly violent thriller. Recommend it to anyone who's kind of thinking about maybe getting an anime, doesn't know where to start. A lot of Western sensibilities are being sated, I would say. Just really fun story. It's great. I love it.
Wes and Mike got to choose one of my movies because of that. I didn't say negative 120 degrees.
We got you.
So, I ended up watching Conclave, and I thought it was really good. I like movies where, I like when people question things. I like someone devout to a religion questioning it. So I thought it was pretty good, and I really like Rome, so it was cool.
I'm gonna say Devil Wears Prada. I'd never seen
Nice.
it, and it felt like a gap. It felt like something that is in the cultural lexicon that I had never seen, and so I felt like I had to see it. Didn't really care for it that much. Thought it was kind of boring.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought you liked it.
I thought it was well acted, but I just didn't feel like there was really any drama or much that really happens. It just seemed like kind of boring to me. But I get why so many people love it. So that's what I watched. All right. What was the hardest part of this trip for you guys?
Breathing.
Breathing. Just respirating. Cool.
Yeah, I had a really hard time breathing enough air.
Yeah. For me, it was our first dinner in Ladakh where we just kind of ate in this mess tent together. And I just, for whatever reason, came to that dinner pretty unprepared for the cold. And I feel like that was our coldest night. And I remember my toes were getting super cold and it was just kind of miserable. And we knew that we still
camp.
had 3 or 4 nights ahead of us there. And that was probably the low point for me. But then it got easier after that.
Yeah, the first night for me as well. The sleeping bags were not quite built for some, and I'm not like a huge
They
person.
were kind of small.
They were small, and I didn't fit in them very well. I hadn't quite figured out exactly how it was going to work out for me the following nights. I remember just laying there. It was like 3 a.m., and I hadn't slept at all, just desperately longing to be home. I remember probably saying out loud to myself, I would do anything to not be here right now.
Yeah.
And this is before any interesting sightings or anything fun had happened. We didn't know the group very well yet, and I was just mad. I was so
Me and
mad
Wes
to be out there.
Literally, meanwhile, we're in our tent, laughing because I was Mike told us he doesn't like camping, and we brought him to the fucking Himalayas and made him camp in this cold ass tent, and he's just never gonna like camping now.
13,000 feet. Yeah.
Camp.
So the next question was actually, Jeff, did you do yours? Yeah, breathing.
Yeah, but
The
also shout out to those bathrooms at that camp. They dug
Yeah.
a
Bathrooms are
6-inch hole.
rough. Put 2 rocks next to it. The rocks were sometimes slippery with frozen pee on them.
Oh, man. I saw those the bathroom tents, and my bowels just shut off. They're like, nope.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold everything in for the next 4 days.
So the next category was funniest part of the trip. And for me, it was actually laughing at Mike having to camp in the Himalayas.
It's not funny.
But what do
nice.
you guys think? Did you guys have anything for that? Funniest moments on the trip?
I actually think I saw 2 sloth bears, but most everyone else saw 1 sloth bear. But the first one I saw, I hardly saw it. And then the second one we saw it really well. And it was in the forest. And then I was watching it. I was waiting to get a shot of it. once it came out of all the brush obscuring the view, you know? And for, I don't know, 5 minutes we're watching it, and it's like about to go into the road and like get this clearing, and I'm like ready to get the shot. And the second it comes out, our driver, there's a car parked in front of us the entire time, hasn't moved at all. And our driver just like drives straight into it. Like the second this bear's head is out of the trees, we just ram the car ahead of us. And like, it would take a lot for me to lose focus of this bear. I completely lost focus of the bear and turned around and was just like, what is going on right now? Did we just get in a car crash? And then by the time I looked up, the bear was like halfway across the road.
Like it got startled and ran. So
There's a really
stupid.
funny video I'll post on my Instagram of it once this comes out.
The funniest thing that happened to me is still Cassie, one of the girls in our group. She fell asleep with a couple of hard-boiled eggs in her pocket.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And she tossed and turned and rolled around in her sleep. And the next morning she woke up and they were unbroken, like unfazed, and they were warm. And she was like, wow, look at that. I got something to eat.
I remember when I
really
heard that,
gross,
I was like,
but it's so funny.
What? Yeah. Oh man. Another shout out is Libby bringing a Nikon Coolpix from like 2006. And when you had to pay for cameras in Todoba, she went to like go pay for it. And they're like, no, you don't have to pay for that. You can just take that. Like 3 megapixels.
Sarah too. So you guys don't know this one, but she's from Colombia. She's awesome, and she's in the United States the last couple of years, but like she's Colombian.
Yeah.
And she's like teaching English, I think, or teaching Spanish. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But anyways, you guys could have a million guesses before you guess what her favorite movie is.
Man, sorry.
Black Hawk Down.
Wow.
No.
Is her favorite
There's no
movie.
possible way.
I just thought that was so funny.
That's
and
so
like
funny.
really just
Super
like
endearing.
doesn't fit her at all, but kind of fits her because it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like you never know what to expect with Sarah. So
That's
thought it was
great.
funny.
All right, let's move on to our last category. We're gonna say each of us quickly our top 5 mammals we saw. Just your top 5 animals. If you want to put birds in there, throw some birds in there.
Great. I'll do
Top
that.
5 animals plus 1 bird.
If you want to add a bird as an honorable mention,
going to.
go for it. Okay. My top 5, the snow leopard was number 1. Earlier, I did say the bearded vulture was number 2, but I do think I have to say the sloth bear was number 2. Then the bearded vulture at
Mike,
number 3.
That was another
Yeah.
funny argument.
At the time,
Because
it was.
Mike got mad at you and was like, "No, it's not your
There's
second
no
favorite."
possible
I
way.
got
Mike was
really,
right.
really
You have
excited.
to admit Mike was right.
He is now, but at the time, it was still the bearded vulture.
No,
It was.
he
It
was
doesn't
right
work
the
that
whole
way.
time.
I love that. Like they only
You
bones.
switched it.
Fine, I'm going back. The bearded vulture's number 2. Sloth bear's number 3. And then I'm going to go. I got lucky to see some dholes, which are a wild dog hunting sambar deer, which was really cool. And then my final one, I'm going to say the tigers, just all the tigers we saw, the male tiger specifically, but the females with cubs too. So yeah, that's my top 5.
All right. Yeah, I would go tigers and then sloth bear and then probably the wolves, just because I thought it was really cool how they were like camped right by us the entire time we were there.
That was cool.
And then the Himalayan lynx.
Nope.
Asian lynx, yeah. Okay.
And,
You could call it a
oh,
Himalayan
man.
lynx.
I mean, honestly, what's going to stick in my mind the most is we saw a crocodile rip a deer in half.
Yeah, that was cool. Mugger crocodile. Have you said the snow leopard, or is it not in your top 5?
Oh, I didn't say snow leopard. Shit.
Yeah.
It's not in my top 5, that's for sure.
Wow.
I would probably have to put it. What was my 4th one?
I don't know.
The lynx is out. Lynx is out. Snow leopard's in at 4.
Okay. What's your bird honorable mention?
The hoopoe.
Yeah,
Boop, boop.
Those things are sweet. Just
they are
like
cool birds.
Austin on our Africa trip found one first, but they got like mohawks, and I don't know. I just really wanted to see one, and literally everyone had seen one but me. And then at the last second, I got one.
Nice. Barn beat.
All right, number 1 for me is taiga. Number 2 is sloth bear. Number 3 is going to be, I like that nightjar a lot. It was just sitting on the ground like a rock.
Cool.
It
Yeah.
was so cool.
Grouchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4, let's go with the Eurasian lynx, just because it was just such an elusive little spotting that we had. And we were like 1 billion feet up in the sky. I felt like, well, it was tough to be up there, even for just like 20 minutes. And number 5, ooh, this is going to be tough. I'm going to go with the paradise flycatcher. It's this really beautiful white, long-tailed bird. And its behavior was really interesting. It was like dipping up and down into the water just really quick. I thought it was just one of the most amazing.
No
birds
snow
I've ever seen.
leopard.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
All right.
If we'd only been looking at it for like 2 hours, it would have been up there. But 15 hours of a snow leopard,
Too much for you.
too much. I decided I do not care for snow
I
leopards.
do find that my enjoyment is often based on the amount of time we have to spend looking for it. And the fact that we really put in time for that animal made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No, they're great. Snow leopards are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just wanted to say again, thanks
Very
to
elusive.
thanks to everyone that joined us, for all the people that helped us on that trip, our guides, Fauna Safaris, Naturals Journeys that put it all together. We had an amazing trip. For me, it's one I'm going to think about for a long time. It blew my expectations out of the water. So I'm really, really just super chuffed about it, you know? Just chuffed to the max.
You left your mark all over it.
Yep.
Yep.
There's a lot of my poop out there in the Himalayas, especially. All right. Well, you guys got anything else before we wrap this up?
No, thank you.
All
No,
right.
I think I'm good.
Okay. If you want more content, check out our Patreon or our Apple Grizz Club. Mike, I think you just did one of our funniest episodes ever with your Ancient Guys episode.
The
Right before-
donkey drinking wine. That's a good joke.
All timer.
Jeff had a really good one too right before that. I'm struggling to remember what it was, but it was a good one.
Ooh, that's not convincing.
No, but it was. I remember that it was good. So,
Was it
um,
New Zealand? That was
yeah,
fun.
the New Zealand one was super fun.
The moa birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check us out. It's $10 a month, which that's like 3 eggs these days. So
You love comparing it to food, dude.
I do,
It's like 1 egg these
Yeah,
days.
serious. My birds are out there laying gold. All right. Love you guys.
All right. Love ya.
See ya.
Bye.